But hey, earlier you were saying that it all started with a choice.
With a choice.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know about that.
I want to hear your thoughts, Ben.
Do you think Adam and Eve were just free will beings that were put in a garden and kind of just tested with the tree? And that was like, that's it? That was
I don't think that there was any way that they wouldn't sin.
Do tell.
Because I just can't see it any other way. Dude, they were walking with God.
Yeah.
And they still chose themselves.
Yeah.
The Lord themselves. Being created and then being given a garden, being given I'm imagining Eve as being very beautiful, a beautiful, like
smoking,
the perfect woman, right?
Smoking,
like. And
do you think Adam was circumcised?
No.
Nice, we're on the same page.
Yeah, definitely not.
Okay, good.
And man, it's the creation story is so incredibly,
I know,
beautiful and confusing and difficult and wonderful. I could just sit and think about that for days. And I'll still be in the same spot as I am right now. Yeah, I think some of it's going to be I'm going to leave just leave them open-ended right now because I don't know how to conclude that.
You don't think there was any way for them not to sin? They would have fallen.
I think they would have fallen. Yeah.
There's two perspectives. There's one that says Adam and Eve they didn't know what they were doing. It was like it was an accident.
I've heard this before.
Okay,
yeah,
it was an accident. It was just a mistake. There wasn't like intention behind it. They were deceived, right?
Right.
It says as the serpent deceived Eve.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Think about it. We're looking at the story from our perspective after like millennia.
Right. We saw the consequence.
Right. So we have a lot of bias that we're like reading this through and people's teaching and reading and but if you think about it, if Adam and Eve are just created these like perfect beings, right? In relation with God, they knew nothing else. That was normal to them. Walking with God's cool. The divine counsel being there is cool. Like the garden and me getting to name the animals and like this is just life. This is normal. Right. This is normal. This is what it looks like to be Adam and Eve in this garden. They knew nothing else.
Yeah.
So when the serpent, right, appears to Eve, they never had a concept of deception.
Correct.
Lying.
Right. They couldn't protect themselves.
Disobeying God. They didn't know any of these things, right? So when it says like the serpent deceived Eve, don't forget he didn't lie. He actually didn't lie to her. Correct. He said, you will be like God, knowing good and evil.
Yeah, well, he did lie when he said, you surely will not die.
They didn't die on the spot.
Yeah, but he...
See what I'm saying? These are
correct.
This is a deception. Yeah. It's not necessarily a lie.
Yeah,
it's a
twisting.
A twisting.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because God said, if you eat of this tree, you will surely die. But Satan's like, you're not going to die right away.
Right.
You know?
Right. Yeah.
You're going to die in 1,000 freaking years.
Right. That's what it kind of, that's how it came across.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. He hid the truth, deceived.
And he wasn't lying when he said, you will be like God, knowing good and evil. All they knew was good. All they knew was good.
Correct. Yeah.
And God was literally trying to keep them from knowing evil.
Right.
What a great thing. That God's trying to keep you from knowing evil. And he just wants you to know good. And what's crazy is the like Gnostics and some of the New Age stuff,
That's a beautiful thing what you just said there, Ben, by the way. That was beautiful. God only one. Yeah, I love that. That was really nice.
Okay,
Sorry.
cool.
Keep going.
I hate when
you're
flatter
very
me.
Poetic.
I hate when you flatter me.
Because you're not always poetic. Sometimes you'll say these one-liners. I'm just like, that was beautiful.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
You're welcome.
I'm frozen.
Continue.
That was an error.
Continue.
Hey,
blue teeth.
Now I forgot what I was saying.
No, so I was afraid of that. Dang it. Okay, so God wanted to protect us from knowing evil.
Yes.
That was the last thing you said. That was the beautiful.
What else?
That was it. Then I interrupted you. Very, very beautiful.
Hold on. Okay, garden. Let me go back.
Okay.
Garden, Adam, Eve, Satan, deception. Look what you did, man. You just freaking threw a monkey wrench right into it, didn't you?
All of our listeners are going to be so mad at me right now.
Yeah.
Let him finish, Dennis. Just
write
shut
down
your
in the
mouth.
comments. Write down in the comments how much you hate Dennis.
Write down what you thought Ben was going to say.
Yeah.
I want to hear that.
Yeah, exactly.
While you're thinking, have you heard no, it'll come back. I believe. I have faith. I have to show the faith.
And the chastity belt.
I'm wearing it tight.
Yeah. Locked. I have the key.
Encrypted. What have you heard the analogy of like there is no such thing as cold?
Okay, it's back.
There you go. That's all I needed. Okay,
that's all you needed to do. All you needed to do is try to deviate even further.
Okay,
and by God's grace, it came back.
There you go. I will keep my mouth shut.
Go. Okay, I forgot again.
We can't do early podcasts anymore, man. We're never going to get through it.
Dude, this blue stuff sucks. Somebody lied to me. Somebody's playing a trick on me.
I think so
freaking dyed my teeth blue.
Oh my
goodness. I'm screwed for the whole day.
Okay, so
okay, hold on. I think it's back.
Okay.
So Satan didn't lie when he said, "You will be like God, knowing good and evil." Okay? Right. God just wanted them to know good. God wasn't trying to, this is what the Gnostics and some of the New Age stuff teaches today, is that Satan was actually, or Lucifer, whatever you want to call it, was actually trying to give knowledge to Adam and Eve.
Yeah,
and he was the good one. He's the light bringer, the light bearer. This is literally what Luciferians believe, right?
Right.
Lucifer was the good guy in the story, and God was trying to withhold knowledge from Adam and Eve. God's the bad guy, and Satan's the good guy. Lucifer's the good guy, right?
So twisted.
It's insane. It's absolutely insane. God was trying to withhold the knowledge of evil,
right,
and to keep Adam and Eve protected and in a state of perfect peace, harmony, euphoria, like relationship with him. And people think that's Lucifer's the hero. How absolutely insane is that?
It is.
Absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But again, Satan didn't lie to them. They did become like God. They didn't become gods. They didn't become gods, but they became like God in the fact that they could now know good and evil. Question is, how did God know evil?
And that's where I think that analogy comes in a little bit. It's just that where God is, evil can't exist. So it's this where heat is, there's no cold. Where there's a absence of heat, that's where cold is. The same light and dark.
Light and dark. Yeah, duality.
That. And that makes sense to me, in a lot of ways. Yeah, and that's just how I don't know though how he knows all things. I don't know how.
Yeah, but hey, this is round 2 for God. He's already seen this before, right?
Mm-hmm.
He's already seen a rebellion. He's already seen rebellion. Mm-hmm. Satan already did it. He already tried to ascend the throne. He already tried to be independent. He already tried to become God. Right? The 3-dimensional Adam and Eve story is our version of the same thing that happened in the higher dimensional realm. You see what I'm saying?
Okay,
it's the same thing. God's already seen it. And so that's what I'm saying when you say that, like, oh, it all came through a choice, okay, guess what? The freaking angels apparently also have free will and a choice, because a third of them chose not to obey God and to disobey and go with Lucifer, right? So everybody's just like making choices left and right, and God's the only one that's like, oh man, wish I didn't do this. This is a mess. But on the contrary, it actually says, before the foundations of the earth, I chose you. Well, that's weird. That's before Adam and Eve made a decision that brought sin into the world. That's weird. So it was already done. Like, it was the decision to save, the decision to create was all made despite knowing that sin was going to enter. Because like you said, it's inevitable. It was inevitable that they were going to sin. There's no way they weren't going to, So I don't really think it all depends on just a choice. I think the whole freaking purpose of this whole experiment, and I'm talking about both dimensions. I'm talking about the spiritual dimension, because God didn't have to create in that realm, but he did, knowing they were going to fall, which was going to lead to our fall. Okay? Because listen, no serpent falling, right? No Lucifer sinning,
right?
No human sinning. There's no tempter in the garden.
True.
You know what I'm saying?
True.
So one led to the other, okay? And he still did all of it, not because God's so creative and he just loves himself so much that he needs to create something else to pour his love out onto, right? Have you heard that?
Right. Yeah, I've heard that. Mm-hmm.
When people are like, oh, why did God create humanity? Right. Oh, he exists in perfect love and unity, and he needed something else to pour that love out onto.
Right.
I don't believe
he already exists in perfect love and
within himself. He doesn't have to show how creative he is, right?
Right.
But it says all things are through him, for him, and by him.
Mm-hmm.
All things are for him, and that him is Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So if all things are for him, that means that the spiritual dimension God created and this lower dimension, the third dimension that God created, humans, angels, the whole shebang, is for Jesus. And how does Jesus get glorified the most? Through his creation, by being sacrificed,
right,
and forgiving sin, and bringing glory to the Father as Savior, not just Creator. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's why, despite knowing that everything was going to go to crap, that's why God still did it, was because he gets glorified all the more by being able to forgive and save and show grace.
Yeah. That's beautiful.
That's why.
It's wonderful.
That's why he did it. Even though it was going to happen, sin was going to enter the world, and he knew that before he created.